So, hi and welcome. My name is Volker Eckel. I'm Senior User Experience Engineer on UI Standardization Matters, User Interface Standardization Matters here at the Wikimedia Foundation. And I would like to present to you, together with my colleague Jonathan Morgan, the study findings of our research on Wikimedia contributors' front-end needs. Jonathan, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Jonathan Morgan. I'm a design researcher on the design research team, which is part of the overall research team here at the Wikimedia Foundation.
Jonathan will tell you later more about the methodology used and the. Sorry, Brandon. There's a technical issue.
I can still hear and see everything fine if that information is useful.
One little moment. People remotely used it. Little break. More time for digestion. Nice. Thank you. So one more time, Jonathan will tell you later more about the research goals and the methodology used. For the first few minutes, I would like to set the field um, for our. I would like to set the field for UI standardizations topics that we are facing, and would give you a little overview of different things that different issues that we've been running into and thinking about. So we've started with looking at the internals. In the
It looks as though San Francisco is freezing.
came to my knowledge. All right. About the libraries that and the shared styles that are currently used. So we have MediaWiki style sheets for general and common core styles, which are the most ancient and most triaged ones. We have jQuery UI still in use in MediaWiki. We have Agora styles left over. We have MediaWiki UI. We have OGS UI, which is the modern and agreed on approach. We have pure library, which is used on parts on the Wikimedia portal. We have semantic UI 1 and 2 by Analytics. We have Bootstrap 2 and 3 on older versions of Analytics. And we have custom styles used in mobile frontend, Echo, universal language selector, and so on. So there's quite a diversity in UI styles internally. I've made a nice little collection of buttons, a nice inventory of just surfing 15 minutes on English Wikipedia, and this was the outcome. So consistency, as you all might know, and I will be here to put the focus on it, is one of the most fundamental design principles. Without consistencies, people have serious problems in their mental models going for tasks on resolving the tasks on interfaces. We have another contemplation slide here. Fonts. We use different font stacks for the same type. For serif font stacks, we have two different implementations. For sans serif font stacks, we have 3 different implementations across currently in use products. So why did we speak with our users? Foundation employees and volunteer Wikimedia contributors. We've been reaching out to Wikimedia Foundation employees and to contributors on various platforms, and to Wikimedia Germany developers, are designing and implementing their user interfaces in all different ways, trying to resolve their challenges. I want to give you some examples. This is the evaluation portal. It was enlarged, brought in place by Edward Galvez and Maria Cruz of the foundation, having several needs like multi-column layouts, like a special focus, like a special highlighting sections, special needs on their links. We have Wikidata, which uses in big parts own styles based on vector. It is, from an editing perspective, a complete, a very strong challenge. We have things like the Resonator, a tool demoing Wikidata's capabilities by Magnus Manske. It shows related significant data through simple reasoning, therefore the name Resonator. It has an interface that is based on Bootstrap, because he is aware of Bootstrap. More for that later. We have BetScan, a powerful querying tool, again by Magnus Manske. It's used, just a tweet yesterday by him, it's used on average once every 23 seconds, so it's quite a popular tool out there. And as last example, WikiProject. WikiProject was brought into place by contributors. Isara is well known, and as we see here, complete different layout again, complete different challenges for the users, and the most amazing thing when we talked about font stacks before, the Let's Take Wikipedia to the Moon banner, it uses Höfler text, which has been the font about a few years ago, and it's now here in place again. So far for the introduction and the field setting. Jonathan, please.
Sure. So when I joined this project, Volker and May had already started doing research on current users and potential users of Wikimedia's UI resources, particularly the OOJS UI library. And one of the things that I saw as I was looking through that initial research, I was struck by the wide variety of different types of design and front-end development that were occurring throughout our movement among staff members of the Wikimedia Foundation, and then more broadly among the designers and developers who are building content and building tools on wikis and then off wikis as well to support the movement. So as we started to explore further and talk to more people, we set our research goals very broadly. We wanted to learn more about the direct stakeholders of front-end UI resources or tools. So think about that as people who build stuff or people who build stuff for other people in the Wikimedia movement, whether they're building for readers, whether they're building for other contributors. And we started to develop a set of questions to ask them about what they're building currently, what they've built, what workflows they follow as they design new tools or new pages or new types of user interfaces. The specific tools that they use to build what they're working on, and then what are the benefits and potential shortcomings that they see in the tools that they're using? What are the challenges they face? And what are the reasons they would select one set of tools over another? And finally, we were also obviously interested in to what extent they were utilizing the front-end UI resources that the Wikimedia Foundation had created and was interested in evaluating. So overall, the rationale for this, for taking a broad approach in this research, is that we realize that terms like front-end UI and design and tools are very broad terms, and they can mean a lot of different things to different people and describe their work. And we didn't want to artificially exclude anybody from the conversation because we didn't consider what they did to be UI work, or because we just hadn't considered the kind of work they did. And we thought that this was an excellent opportunity to take a broad approach to research here, because we'd reached a decision point around how the Wikimedia Foundation was going to support UI standardization moving forward. Next slide. So our overall methodology, and this includes research that was conducted by May before I joined the project as well. We conducted focus groups and some semi-structured interviews with an overall with 19 people who are members of our movement in one way or another. 7 of them were staff at the Wikimedia Foundation, 3 of them were staff at Wikimedia Deutschland, and 9 of them were volunteers who contributed on their own time. So as we were talking to these contributors, we started to characterize the work they did in 2 broad categories. We found that there was a group of people who did UI work at the page level on Wikimedia websites. We call these people page designers. I had direct experience with this through work I'd done previously with the Tea House and the Idea Lab, and other spaces on Wiki that are curated by Foundation staff and that provide an interface with the community for outreach or communication, education, coordination. You could also think potentially of wiki projects as these types of user interfaces. The second group were people who fit more cleanly into what we on the product side of things tend to think of as front-end developers, people who are building the basic interface for MediaWiki, who are designing extensions, but also people who are working on different types of user interfaces that may not necessarily be considered developers in the kind of traditional sense of the word, or at least rather not, are often not included in the set of people we consider to be developers. And those are people who are developing user scripts or gadgets, or even standalone web applications that work with Wikimedia content or are used by Wikimedia movement contributors to get their work done. So they could be building things to support readers or contributors or even researchers.
Thank you very much. So within our research and in our interviews and focus groups, we found common patterns of needs answering to our questions about their workflows, about their libraries that they are using, as Jonathan mentioned. And those common patterns we want to share with you here. They have to be aware of an existing solution. If a UI library does not exist on their radar, it's not non-existent. The more people talk about it, the better for its applicability. Um, the, the quote by community developer, no one ever talks about it, and he referred to OJS UI. It's not on his radar, it's not on Wikitech L. Documentation has to be easy and easily accessible. When it comes to looking at documentation, I want to see examples. Again, a community developer with his quote. Community is a strong indicator for finding answers. People were referring to, there was also the term support network, if the support network is available. Another quote, if you run into trouble, you find something on Stack Overflow. If this is not true for the front-end solutions, the solution, it might not be their solution. Easy learning curve, ease of use. It felt intuitive for me to use OGS UI, quite close to Bootstrap, Wikimedia Germany developer. So you have those opinions on both sides. We collected a whole bunch of opinions, and I would be happy to share those quotations with you afterwards. Modularity, fewer dependencies. As few dependencies as possible in modern development. I want to take tiny pieces and fit them together into big elements rather than using complex elements and customizing them. Quote from Wikimedia Germany. So a different perspective, a little different perspective, were specific questions by us on what contributors, how contributors are choosing. Is mobile support a deal for them? Yes, in parts. They would like to see that. It is not their biggest issue. They want to have it solved as a side by functionality. Accessibility measurements, again, a broad field. How much can you provide as a user interface library on that that already solves my problems? No JavaScript support was mentioned by several people we were talking about. Sorry, I have to say to mobile support. This was a big topic among the page designers group as well. Mobile support is for them a real big thing that they want to have accomplished when they're grabbing a solution. Internationalization and localization and translation challenges. This was the most named asset from page designers and also in parts from Wikimedia Germany developers. The more a library solves that for me, the better it is. I run into problems every time when I try to localize my front end. I want to have this addressed very early on, especially in our environment of Wikimedia Foundation with our global outreach. What are the primary barriers? Some of the points are clearly just mirrors of the first two slides. Time is scarce, resources are limited. This is like the main title for people and the main concern. They are contributors. They don't have lots of time to spend. They want to get things done. Steep learning curve hinders them in getting things done. Missing or unclear documentation, same topic. Missing community to find answers. The antidote to the quote before about Stack Overflow. Adaptability or extensibility of the framework. And together with adaptability, the process to request new features. Process for adding to JSUI or core, it was meant as we don't know about the process at all, is not clear to us. OJSUI team really wants people to use it. They want feedback from Wikimedia Germany again. So it's clear, it is seen that it's a welcoming thing, but the process has issues and needs to be addressed. So what are the conclusions for us? For us, talking with our group, with me, with Jonathan from the Outcomes, in general, community involvement for long-term success of our work that we're investing. We should try to address community needs and include them in the development early on. That is a long-term success factor from the communications we have. It's not necessarily that the so one of the questions that came up is encouraging more community ownership something that would make sense? We are not quite clear about that. But still, without having a community behind its development, it's hard for long-term sustainability. Open development and establishing support on documentation, support on the process. For UI standardization, embracing technological pluralism and the diversity that we have out there in the different solutions. People are using different solutions, and we, as UI standardization, with UI standardization matters, address people. We have to embrace this diversity and kind of get people using still our designs to make it across the products working. Collaborative process to documentation, something that I've tried and may start has been taking lots of measurement on that. Started to put people to reach out to people to help us with the documentation points. All of the before said things about the general approach on making a successful front-end library is also clearly true for UI standardization. So inclusive process, inclusive establishing collaboration channels, and yeah, dot. So that were the conclusions. Thank you for your attention, and I would like to invite you to pose questions if you have some. Jonathan, anything from your side before going into the?
Nothing here.
Nothing here.
So, how many people did you survey that were software engineers? It seemed like a lot of the quotes were from Wikimedia Germany developers, for instance. Were there any Wikimedia Foundation developers interviewed as well?
Wikimedia Foundation developers we have not asked for a specific reason, because within the foundation it is clear that we have this one thing to draw on and to push forward, and which we wanted for exactly that reason, having emerging developers like Wikimedia Germany ask for to see what they are facing right now in their workflows. And also, we were reaching out to community developers for exactly that reason. So, no, we did not ask Wikimedia Foundation developers. May, do you want to?
So we did ask a couple, but not that many. So we have I think we went around. There was two developers from the foundation and page designers that were from the foundation.
Well,
In terms of
right.
developers, only two.
Yeah, the developers were part of your interviews. We were focusing on the presentation, on the focus results. The two developers were, if to make that correct, from the interviews that you've taken back then.
Hey, I'm speaking now and it's live. Cool. So, um, thank you. Thank you for this. It strikes me as interesting to get such a broad spectrum of sample quotes, for example, about OUI. And it kind of speaks to maybe more of a need for kind of communication and leadership around that. I would say that there's also a need for that inside the foundation as well. I think there's a bunch of different technologies, and honestly, I don't care which we use as long as it works. But some people care a lot more. And I think we need to do both, not just the kind of make sure that our communities of people are able to do what we recommend, but that everyone is clear of what we're recommending and hopefully why. And as part of that, hey, I think this is wrong and this is why conversation process. I think that'd be great.
I completely agree, and we also wanted to present it in a very open way. These are learnings that we have from a few different, very pronounced people, but a few different people. And the more we can learn about their pain points, the better our work becomes clearly.
Hello, there we go. Yeah, I just recalled like I think it was maybe a year or 2 years ago, the release engineering team ran a survey around Vagrant to look at pain points, and that was internally. Just as a follow-up to this, it might be interesting to do something similar, because I think Vagrant improved dramatically after the survey because it was very clear like what people's pain points were. I think speed was one of them. And there are lots of improvements that came afterwards. So just like a thought on like a way we could take this forward, briefings.
Would you give me, as this was before my time, would you give me, was it more a technical survey, or what were the constraints to this?
I'm sure I can dig it out a bit. I don't think it was technical. It was mostly like, what is like your main pain point right now with using Vagrant? Like, if you could change one thing, what would it be? Like, they're kind of open-ended questions. But I thought, yeah, I think it's been great that you've gone and looked at some people outside the foundation to get their opinions, but it would also be good to check internally as well.
Okay, thank you. One thing that I also want to mention is I've seen this by Florian Schmidt-Welzow. So when we're talking about community, about support networks, I found it very interesting and a little nugget that they were putting out a conversation from a patch set to Stack Overflow. They were taking the conversation, put it on Stack Overflow, and let it respond, put a response there, which gives visibility. And it's also nice. It's a nice. I don't know how successful this is, but just as an idea, a nice way to involve a community and have more outreach on certain levels. All right.
Hello. I don't quite have a question. More like, well, maybe it's a question. So volunteer developers, how do you see this work getting carried forward? Will you be working more with foundation staff on it? Will it be more of a volunteer community initiative? Like what's next?
Um, I'm not quite sure what work you're referring to. Would you say that again, or try to reformulate that for me? Which work to carry on? Question mark.
UI standardization. Is it something that the foundation owns? Is it something that comes from the community? You said something about like, taking in mind the communities, the diversity of the community, and what they develop. Because I'm not a developer, so I'm trying to like understand though, like, uh, how could the community support this work in the future? Is maybe a better question.
Thank you, Edward. This is a very good question, as it comes down to a lot of different things. Support within the foundation, resources clearly, because community, as we all know, is not a community is not growing on its own. It needs constant interaction, and it needs to have being early addressed and being involved in a very time intensive way to prosper, from my experience. Um, for sure, when I started here, I thought I want to address all the needs. Very soon, it became clear that I have to be very picky about what needs I try to address first. The way that we've been starting May has a big part in that, is involving community early with design guidance, and I would like to continue that. But again, this is a one person show right now that is embedded in a very powerful team. So we are on a way of finding out how to put the priorities right, how to make the priorities right, and uh, go from there on your question, how to involve community in our further development.
I have a question also about what's next after this presentation. So, for example, at the beginning, you had like a list of a lot of UI libraries or a lot of like UI terms that people may read online and don't know exactly what it's about. Like, do we officially basically like document and recommend a way or like some libraries, or do we officially recommend to use OUI, for example? And like then we saw in the comments that people may use Bootstrap because they want something that is like easy to use and that has a lot of support, and for all those reasons to get started quickly. And Bootstrap like provides some very quick templates to build a Bootstrap page with like a navigation bar. And for example, if you look at Resonator, it's not much complicated. It's pretty much just a navigation bar on the top, and then some like basic styles that he was that he needed to build the application to make it beautiful. So and if we look at the OUI demos, we don't have, I don't think we have like some examples of like a Bootstrap page that people could start off. Like people could just download and start like quickly out of that page with just a navigation bar and like some navigation drop downs and all that stuff. So is there anything that is like being done or being designed in the background to potentially like say, hey, if you're a community developer and you want to build any sort of application, just use that Bootstrap page and you can start from that, and you can like use all those widgets from the OUI library and all that thing. I don't know how complicated that would be. It might not be that complicated, and enable a lot of people to start using OUI.
Thank you, Julian, for your comment. I've I'm definitely not the right person to give answers on all those. This is a thing. There are questions, and we should prioritize on the questions and think about how we can address them with our limited resources, time resources. The one point that we've been coming up before I've joined editing was the agreement on making a base CSS for the basic style sheets that can be used then with whatever technical implementation. OJS UI is the main consumer, but the technical implementation that you're using, and I think this is we will in the short term not convince anybody to use just one library. That is my personal conviction. I'm not quite sure how other people here think. So if I'm coming from a UI standardization standpoint, I have to say I want to make clear that the basic style sheets can be used with whatever technology is out there, because this is a foundational decision, and should be apart from any strict technical implementation, because there's fans of all kinds of implementations for good reason. Every implementation has its pros and its cons, and as a UI standardization folk, I have to say, okay, how can I bring them together? And BCSS is this approach from my perspective. We will see out how it plays, how it is working, but I'm looking forward to that, actually. To your other question, that is more a foundational question. As I said, I think I'm not the right person to answer that here. Okay. Any more questions here? People are getting a little slow by the blinds down, I guess. Missing sunlight and vitamin D. Thank you, remote participants. Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, I take this as a thanks as well.
Thanks, everybody.
And let me say two more words. Thank you, Abby, for supporting our interview facilitation early on in the process. User research has done a great job here. Thank you, May, for all the hard work with the interviews and with the iterations. And yeah, it was great talking to you.